Welcome back to Time Warner Cable's Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance, and we are joined by Ted Lieu. He's a member of the California State Senate. And, sir, I think it's fair to say that we've recently seen a very disturbing report coming out of the Center for Investigative Reporting, which alleges that close to 150 women in our state prisons were sterilized without appropriate approvals and possibly against their will.
That's correct. Their investigation revealed that 148 female inmates received tubal ligations, sterilizations, without the required state approvals. The state had actually banned this practice and said, we're only going to allow sterilizations on a case-by-case basis. It had to go through a committee. That did not happen for any of these 148 women.
Why would the state be in the business of sterilizing? I mean, you may create a hysterectomy if someone is having severe endometriosis in a prison situation, but why is the state involved in tubal ligations?
So that is a legitimate question. There is an issue as to whether we should be doing this at all. Part of the argument from when you read the article is some of the inmates apparently did request sterilization.
Well, why? And I request Botox.
Right.
I mean,
no, that's a completely appropriate question. But to me, the more troubling issue is there were incidents reported in the story that showed that women were forced, coerced, or pressured into tubal ligations. One female inmate said she was sedated on the operating table, about to have a C-section for her baby, when the doctor asked her if she wanted a tubal ligation. And she freaked out. She said, no. I mean, and she's thinking, why is the doctor asking me this? And so it is actually against federal law to ask someone when they're sedated if they want to consent to a tubal ligation.
And what's interesting is this was done when there was a receiver in place, and there still is a receiver in place over prison health care.
That's correct. So the allegations are between 2006 and 2010, at least 148 women received these sterilizations without state approval. That was all during the control of their federal receiver.
Was there a requirement for state approval if the receiver was in place?
The requirement exists independent of who was in control of prison health care. Now, in this case, the federal judge was in control of prison health care, and that does point to an issue as whether the judge had the appropriate expertise to know what was going on.
Or did he even know what was happening?
So that's why a letter from several legislators went out, and from the Women's Caucus, to the receiver asking him, when did you know about this? What did you do about it? And so on. I myself wrote a letter along with Senator Noreen Evans and Hannah Beth Jackson to the California Medical Board asking them to investigate the practices of these doctors. Because doctors all take an oath to first do no harm.
Right.
They're required to get actual consent of a patient.
I mean, this
before they
harkens
do
back
procedures.
to some scary times of the 20th century.
Yes, eugenics, a really bad history. You had a very disturbing quote from one of the doctors involved who said that he thought these procedures would save future welfare costs. And my view is, whatever your view is of that, a doctor should never ever have that come into his consideration or her consideration.
And how does this play into the three-judge panel that's looking at our overcrowded prisons?
So it does beg the question of whether we should have the third branch of government, the judiciary, run our prison system and prison health care when it should be an executive branch function. And so we are investigating that as well, whether the judiciary has expertise to actually do this.
Disturbing, assuming the facts are as we hear from the article. His name is Ted Lieu. He's a member of the California State Senate. My name is Brad Pomerance. You are watching Time Warner Cable's Local Edition.